Hello everyone, I'm Jiayi. Here is my presentation of homework 1, question 3. In this question, we were given an 0-1 transmission machine, which transmitted correct and incorrect probabilities as shown in the figure. The probability of transmitting 0 is 0.6, and the probability of transmitting 1 is 0.4. And we know the probability properties. When transmitting 0, 0 is received with a probability of 0.7, and 1 is received with a probability of 0.3. When transmitting 1, there is a 0.8 probability that 1 is received and a 0.2 probability that 0 is received. Okay, we're firstly asked to find the probability that data 0 is received. And there are two ways to do this. The first is the enumeration method. We get the probability separately by enumerating the cases where 0 is received. And then we get the total probability. This approach is very common sense and works well when the situation is simple. As shown in the figure, there are two situations in which 0 is received. Sending 0 and receive 0, sending 1 and receive 0. So we can write down the following. The probability of sending a 0 and then receive a 0 is equal to the probability of transmitting a 0 times the conditional properties of sending a 0 based on receiving a 0 based on transmitting 0. And so is the probability of sending a 1 and then receive a 0. So we can get this equation, and finally we got the receive 0, the probability is 0.5, which is half. Okay, so the second method is Markov chain. We can make this figure turn to this Markov chain. There are two states, 0 and 1, and the transition matrix. So we can use the Markov formula to get the probability of receive 0 and receive 1. We can say the first vector is 0.6 and 0.4 is the probability of sending 0 and 1, and the next one is transition matrix. Then we got the probability of receive 0 and receive 1 is half and half. That's the second method. And the second question is find the probability of error, transmission error. In this case, we just use enumeration method as above. There are two cases that the error occurred. The first is sending a 0 but receive a 1. The other one is sending a 1 but receive a 0. Okay, so like above, the sending 0 and receive 1 is equal to use the probability of transmitting 1 times the conditional probability of receiving a 0 based on transmitting 1. Also, like as transmitting 0 but receive 1. So we can get the probability of transmitting error is 0.26. The problem is solved. Thank you for your watching.